The beach in Grand Isle, Louisiana was supposed to be teeming with visitors this time of year. This is not what they had in mind. The oil is still washing ashore from BP's still leaking well 40 miles at sea.
Who knows what's really going on out there? There's so much unknown, but there's a whole lot of death.
Onshore, Patrick Shea's losing patience.
It's a lot of negative, it's a lot of hopelessness that we're feeling, but I'm trying to hang on to just a glimmer of hope.
A lot of residents in Grand Isle share Patrick's frustration, but few have spelled it out in such plain terms.
I think part of you wants to think, okay, in a year from now we'll be out there crabbing and fishing, but realistically, we see what happened in Alaska.
Alaska and Louisiana have a lot more in common than you might think. Many Gulf residents fish for shrimp and crab, while some of their neighbors work in the oil industry on offshore rigs.
Now add a major oil spill to the list. But this one is much larger than the Exxon Valdez. By some estimates, the BP well has leaked more than 5 times the amount spilled in Prince William Sound, and may continue to do so at the rate of 1 Exxon spill every 8 to 10 days.
A lot's at stake here, and you know, that seafood and oil, this is Louisiana, and without that, you know, who knows what's going to happen.
Gulf residents will need all the expertise and advice they can get as they endure this economic and environmental disaster. Alaskans who've been through it are here to help. They're teaching fishermen new skills, giving wildlife another chance, and making sure residents know how to recover.
I took away from my first meeting, they said, you know, number one, you have to make them accountable, and you have to do it soon. You have to organize as an industry group.
It's difficult to come up with a number of Alaskans now working in the Gulf. Seems like every day you meet someone new with a connection. But fair to say, there are dozens. And even here, at this critical time, with so many new faces in town, some Gulf residents cannot help but take interest in their visitors from the north.
You know, we're Louisiana's sportsman's paradise, and look at Alaska, y'all. I think y'all might have us beat, you know, on that.
You see my pods out there, my pods aren't quite as big as the ones I see on Diddley a Sketch. I love that show.
No one can possibly predict what the next few months and years will hold for Gulf residents affected by the Deepwater Horizon spill. But they can be assured they won't be on their own. At a Meripure processing company in Franklin, Louisiana, roughly 60 workers scrub, sort, and shuck raw oysters coming right off boats in the Gulf of Mexico.
This company is nationwide. We're number 1 in the nation, lead the nation in oysters, you know.
Moses Charles supervises pasteurization.
Ooh, this is hot.
It's a process this company invented. They say it protects against harmful bacteria. But these days, their prized fishing waters are threatened by something much more serious.
Well, it affects all of us. Basically, our life as we know it, you know, was providing for our families is at a halt. This high-pressure washer, all the oysters that come in.
John Tesvich started this company, and over the years has built it into the main raw oyster supplier for nationwide restaurant chains like Red Lobster. He's given them a heads up that they'll likely have to change their menus.
Some people in the community can't even talk about it, and that kind of tells you how deep, you know, this kind of crises, how this affects, you know, the local seafood communities.
Supply is already running short. Much of the Gulf is closed to fishing altogether, and many oyster harvesters now work for BP.
There are so many questions at a time like this. When will fishing reopen? How to pay the bills? Now they're getting some help from people who might have a few answers. Ameripure and other business owners are talking with Alaska biologists and fishermen still recovering from the Exxon Valdez spill. A group from Prince William Sound visited Louisiana about a month ago and have been a source of information and advice since then.
There's no boundary for that. Whether you're fishing in Alaska, fishing here, we kind of feel, we feel the same thing. The experience is a lot the same. Just the climate's a little different.
Ameripure says one of the things it's learning is the importance of organizing as an industry group to make BP accountable. The company says it's also insisting BP pay fishermen and processors lost wages. But some people just need to talk, to share the pain and uncertainty with someone who's been through an oil spill.
It's touching, you know. To see that kind of human component. Excuse me.
Someone who's willing to travel all the way from Alaska.
It really moves you, you know, because they care. These people care.
It's something no amount of money can provide. For a few hours each week, journalists from around the world descend on the Wildlife Rescue Center near Venice, Louisiana, to capture images which perhaps best illustrate what the Deepwater Horizon spill is doing to the environment.
With an oil spill this big, none of us have ever experienced an oil spill this ongoing.
Jay Holcomb is in charge of the operation and pioneered search and rescue in Prince William Sound during the Exxon Valdez spill.
If these pelicans hadn't been oiled in Alaska in the cold environment, they would have died. And they die really fast. But here, because it's warm, they can survive for a long time.
21 years later, the process of cleaning the birds is still very much the same. They've done studies which show a certain brand of dish soap is really the only way to get the job done. The bath is highly stressful, and for some birds, it's too much. But without this attention, wildlife specialists say the birds would surely die.
Predominantly, we're dealing with the brown pelican, which is fantastic because out of all the seabirds in America, they actually are fairly hardy.
Barbara Callahan is here from Anchorage, and she does this for a living.
So this is a little baby here. They're very cute. These are the juvenile birds that were oiled. Most of them got oiled when their parents were oiled and flew back to the nest. We don't want to intrude too much, but you can see how they're pretty comfortable just roosting. It's like they're comfortable together, and that's what a 2-month-old baby pelican looks like.
Barbara's been to 25 countries in 14 years and worked on nearly every major oil spill in that time.
I kind of felt like I was missing the Alaska summer when I first got down here, and then I realized, you know, this is our core business. This is the biggest thing in our lifetime, and everybody who has expertise should be here doing this.
Dave Trudgeon is also an Anchorage resident who gave up part of his summer.
It's not easy, you know, it's tough work, it's hard work, it's long hours. A lot of people working really hard.
The goal for everyone working here is to release the birds in Florida away from the attention and oil which nearly took their lives.
Our total process is we aim for 10 days max, so door in to door out 10 days.
But outside the rescue center, something else takes flight. A reminder that this spill is far from over.
But there's still oil out there, isn't there, that's mobile. And as long as there's oil out in the environment, there's an opportunity for new oiled animals to come in.
With a disaster so out of control, saving the wildlife is one of the few problems with an obvious solution.
Okay, hold pattern then until they get there, all right?
There's a report of an oil sheen not far from this houseboat in Hopedale, Louisiana.
We've got our skimming systems on standby. Once the fast boat confirms the observation that there is oil in the area, then we'll deploy our skimmer vessels out to the area.
This time it was a false alarm, but the team from Alaska Clean Seas treats every report as a legitimate threat to the 90 miles of Gulf coastline it oversees.
When they finally got down to figuring out who we were, what we did, how often we trained, what we knew, how familiar we were with equipment, that's when they kind of said, can you come help us here and prepare us for on-water recovery?
These oil spill cleanup specialists usually work on Alaska's North Slope, But BP's well is still gushing in the Gulf of Mexico, and the company needs all the help it can get.
We think we sent down a lot of boom, but when you match that with the 2 million feet they talk about, pretty small amount.
They're installing it on fishing boats. This demonstration shows how it's done. The boat motors along, slowly collecting oil. Then they drop in a skimmer and pump what they can to onboard tanks.
Shrimp boats already have the reach to get those booms out over the water, but many people here are oyster fishermen, so Clean Seas had to get creative.
Okay, permission to come aboard, all right?
Walter Henry designed a metal arm which can be easily manufactured nearby and installed on oyster boats in relatively short time.
Scratched it down on a napkin, took it down to a fab shop and a welder and explained to him what we wanted to do, and we built it, we stuck it up, tried it, made some adjustments, and that's what we wound up with.
This one's the prototype. More are on order.
I sure would hate to see oil come in here, I really would. I mean, I've been down here since 1965.
It means oyster fishermen like Randy Slavich can make a living while their waters are off limits.
I think it's great that they're down here showing us, you know, and helping us out and letting us know what we're in for, you know. That would be a big help to us.
If successful, Randy's new day job just might save the oysters, even though on a day like this, boat captains like him would rather be fishing.